I think almost anyone has driven through, if you've been here very long, you've driven through some little area or neighborhood that doesn't have ready access to healthy food. But you probably don't think about it, because if you're not impacted by access to healthy food, it just isn't something that really enters people's minds.
Tarrant County, we actually are one of the more food insecure areas.
You have this paradox where, because there's nowhere to access healthy food, people tend to eat food that's less healthy for you, fast food, but it's cheap, they can afford it, they can feed their families, and they don't even have access to buy quality food.
We have foodies that are eating out and taking pictures of what they're eating, and they're so into food, and then we have other people who have really not a clue about their food.
We serve 3 zip codes here: 76104, 76110, 76109, because these are areas that really need a lot of food.
We've got onions. Hey, look here, we've got oranges. It's always good to have some fruit. We got more oranges.
When my daughter got back from Iraq, they found out she had leukemia. And to get on a donors list, you have to have a support person. So I had to close my business. I went from a $50-something thousand business with income to a zero income, because I had to be with her for the transplant.
Many of the people that come here are out of jobs. You know, they've lost their job. We have many grandmothers that come here that their children have gone to jail, and they have the grandchildren, and they're trying to get by on maybe $500 a month Social Security.
I'm my mother's sole caregiver, so I come here for her, and that gives me an alternative when I can't get to the grocery store.
People literally have to drive several hours to get to a grocery. And in many of those cases, they might be white, low-income white communities. But certainly in urban areas, it's primarily people of color, African Americans, most affected, and then Latino, Latina, and Native Americans as well. The official USDA definition has 2 parts. It's a low-income area and it's a low-access area. So 20% of the area needs to be below the poverty line, and a third or more of the people have to be a mile or more from a grocery store. That's in an urban area, and then in a rural area, it's 10 miles or more. So we have several areas in Fort Worth and in the larger Tarrant County that are food deserts. Here in Fort Worth, the south side, the southeast side, very few. I think there's now a Walmart. There didn't used to be anything, but very little access to healthy food. In the Como community, it's kind of right behind where Central Market is. So you have this high-end supermarket that tends to be a higher income bracket, and then the community that's closest to it really can't afford it, but they need it. So there are food deserts here, and the Tarrant County Public Health Department with the Food Policy Council did a study of where are the food deserts, and they actually went into the communities then and looked at what was really available in the stores. Did they have skim milk? What was the quality of the produce? What was the quality of the meat, and so forth? And that's been published in a report.
All of us try to maybe plan on what we're going to buy when we go to buy foods, but we might forget something. Well, in a food desert, there's no room for forgetting unless you're going to buy bread or beer, because otherwise there's not much choice. Lack of access is a factor when it comes to poor diet, which equals many times obesity, and then chronic diseases that come after that.
This is mainly at convenience stores, which is where people shop because there's no grocery. Yeah, so convenience stores, often at a gas station. And there are some that are better than others. Quick Trip, as a company, has been trying to have more healthy options in their convenience stores. And that's one thing we've talked about. Is there a way to work with some of the companies that own the stores to have more healthy options available?
Raise your hand if you eat 3 honest servings of vegetables every day, and French fries and ketchup do not count.
Dan Buettner is the founder of Blue Zones Project. He is a National Geographic Fellow and Explorer and wrote the Blue Zones. Dan Buettner and a team of researchers who are the world's leading researchers on longevity, traveled the world for 8 years and studied these 5 Blue Zones areas across the globe where people lived the longest and also lived very happy, healthy, productive lives well into their senior years. So that's where Blue Zones came from.
Now, I'm never going to be thin, and Blue Zones isn't about being thin. This is about being engaged.
Fort Worth underwent an assessment in 2013 and was then found to be ready for a Blue Zones project. So the assessment process really was to determine if this community was really going to be receptive of the project, could had enough support in the community for it to be successful. And the assessment process took place and the project was approved, and Fort Worth was accepted as a community to undergo a Blue Zones project. So a Blue Zones checkout lane would be one of the things that grocery stores can implement. Rather than the typical gum, mints, candy, would have fruit, easy to grab and go nuts and things that are low sugar, high protein, whole foods, healthier snacks. This would be an example of how a checkout lane could be merchandised. There's a lot of other things that grocery stores can implement to make healthy choices easier as well, like promoting vegetables and produce more, teaching people what to do with it, offering cooking demonstrations, things like that.
I can build a grocery store, and I'm going to stock my grocery store with everything that all the other grocery stores have. And people can still come in there and buy foods that aren't healthy.
What I like about this place here, I get a lot of vegetables. And I love vegetables and fruit.
Pues si es pollo, hago un caldo de pollo con vegetales. A veces me dan carne de otra, hago como un guisado. O si es atún, pues arreglo una ensalada de atún y todo eso con los mismos vegetales. Los yogures, pues se los doy a los niños así. La leche, pues con cereal, un arroz o avena.
I tell anybody they need some help, come up here. Because, you know, they don't give everybody butter. Something you just really need. This here, it costs $3 and something in the store. You know, so it helps good. They gave me a lot of food. They even gave my neighbor some butter. So it's great.
Food deserts is a word that it's a little problematic. It's a useful term for us to think about and to act around. But if you think of it from the community's point of view, you don't want to be described by what you lack. And so a number of food justice activists prefer to focus more on what they do have, which might be knowledge of how to garden. One thing you can do is help people form community gardens if they're interested in doing that. And it's a lot of work and it's a long-term commitment, but some communities are excited about that.
I've been a cardiac nurse for a year now, and I've seen a lot of disease from what I call, like, and others call the disease of the fork. So just people eating bad food. People here in the community garden are giving back, and you know, this food goes to the food bank, people that can't get it. So in a way, this is me helping back as a community advocate.
So the vision is not that we can provide all the food that everyone needs, but we want to create communities where either between learning how to grow your food or learning about the social services offered or going to the food pantry and going to the grocery store, you're able to get all of your food needs met, and we're able to reduce hunger in our county. So this bed is partially planted with winter stuff. We've cleaned out some of it to get ready for planting some spring stuff, and have planted some spring stuff at various stages. But these beds, they look like a typical raised bed, but they're actually something called a hugelkultur bed, which is a European, basically design.
But these solutions really do need to come from the community because that's the only way they'll really be sustainable.
Within the community, go and talk to people because they know what their community needs better than I do or anybody does who doesn't live there, right? And so that's the first thing. And when we do that, again, I've said the first thing they would like is a grocery store, you know? And so if there are ways to create a private, nonprofit, government partnership to bring a grocery store to an area and find grants from foundations that might supply that little bit, find tax incentives from the local government that, you know, there would be lower property tax for a grocery store that's located in that area. So doing that and trying to get a grocery store to the area is one thing. Creating farmers markets where people can buy directly from farmers, but to have that in their community, not just in a wealthy white community.
We just have gotten, I fear, to where we depend a whole lot on other people for our food source. And we have to be smart about what we do with our food money. We have to be smart about what we do with the food we cook, be able to use leftovers, don't just dump things, because we waste so much food. No one would really go hungry if we all used our food right.
And if we could find a way to merge the movement, the local food movement, the foodies, the people who want everything fresh and local and tasty, and I love that too, but if we could merge that with the food justice movement and making sure that people have access to healthy food, if we could somehow get them talking to each other, I think we'd have something really powerful. Don't be afraid to try something. If it doesn't work the first time, you try again, you know, and I think every community can heal itself. And I'd like to see change start from within the community.
It wasn't any sense having to go back and start my business again when I was going to retire at 62. So I came by one day and they started helping me.
It was great here. It was, you know, greater than other places I have been. So yeah, this was great.
When I need help, I know that they're here to help me and a lot of people that need in the community the help.
Pues yo para mí está muy bien. Está muy bien porque pues sí se ayuda a uno muchísimo. Porque llega uno y los niños están contentos porque hay cosas que ofrecerles que a veces uno no les puede ofrecer.
I enjoy coming here. People are always friendly. They're courteous, they help out, and they're just a blessing here.